Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Yeah!
Welcome back to Long Walk Teeny Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today for this Teeny Talk, as always, by my beautiful wife and co-host, Katie Bearden.
Hello, everybody.
And Katie, what are we talking about on today's Teeny Talk?
Well, I wanted to talk about something as a little bit of a sidebar first.
Okay, go ahead. Just
a teeny weeny itty bitty sidebar, if you will, allow me.
The tiniest sidebar.
The teeniest one. I'm getting a little jealous that dogs has true believers, and I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions and or feelings on what we should address our listeners as. You know how everything has to just have a category these days. So I would like to invite any of the listeners, which you're currently being called listeners because hopefully you are listening, but to encourage them to let us know what you would like to be referred to as. I like saying hi everybody, but I really want to call you like teeny beanie weenies or something.
Yeah, see, I suggest just teenies.
I like teenies.
Yeah.
I feel like alliteration is our friend, though. So,
welcome back, Teeny Talkers.
Teeny Talkers. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, why don't you send us some suggestions for what we should call our Teeny Talkers. You can leave those.
Well, I think you just named them all.
Well, we're taking suggestions.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to have something better than that. Mm-hmm. You can comment with that on our Facebook page, or you can email me your suggestions, david.longwalk@gmail.com.
Yeah. I just want to leave it in the hands of the people, you know?
Democracy. Yeah.
Democracy. That's correct. Anyway, our prompt today, on the very long list of ideas that I have pop in my head all the time, and I just have a running list of whatever on my Google Docs, I wanted to talk today about doomsday prepping.
Okay.
And I will say that back when I was having this thought, doomsday prepping seemed like it was probably a good idea.
So sometime in 2020 then.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's a very psychological battle that we have within ourselves to have some sort of finite timeline. Mm-hmm. Like everybody called 2020 the zombie apocalypse. Like, when's it going to happen? The virus is going to make everybody, whatever it is.
Right.
Like, we just, in some cases, want it to end.
Yeah. And in fact, my mother texted me the other day that a friend of hers told her that she was reading Nostradamus, and her interpretation was that people who took the vaccine were going to become zombies. Oh. She told my mother this, completely serious.
Oh, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, you and I have gotten somewhat familiar with the TikToks, and now one of the trends is, somebody's brushing their teeth and this VO comes over and it's like, hey, I just want y'all to know that I Am Legend happened in 2021 and it was because there was a failed vaccine. And everybody's like, what? No, So I don't know. It makes me very interested to talk about this subject because everybody seems, I shouldn't say everybody because I definitely don't, but it seems like.
Listeners, please excuse the loud car that just drove by with their bass thumping. If you could hear that, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, they needed to be heard.
Apparently. I'm sorry, continue.
They have teeny weenies.
Apparently.
Anywho, but it seems like to me that a lot of people that have plans are Caucasian and also in a rural environment that are just expecting it to implode at any given time.
Right. And I feel like there are a lot of reasons for that. I read a thing a while back that why is so much of this fiction popular among millennials? You look at a lot of the young adult novels like The Maze Runner, The Hunger Games. You look at a lot of the movies that have come out, like everyone compares The Hunger Games to Battle Royale, which was a Japanese movie. But I mean, this sort of humans competing against each other for sport, survival of the fittest, it's not a new idea. You know, everyone said, oh, The Hunger Games is just Battle Royale. Watch the original and that's better. Well, Battle Royale was also Stephen King's The Running Man, which was also Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, and also The Most Dangerous Game. People competing against each other and killing each other for sport isn't a new idea. But psychologically, the question that I read in the article that I read was like, why are millennials so obsessed with doomsday scenarios, like the zombie apocalypse, nuclear war, shit like that? And it's not just millennials, but this whatever it was that I read focused primarily on millennials, and it was because it gives people the feeling of some kind of finality.
Exactly.
Because, life is often so overwhelming. Work, paying bills, paying for your car, paying for your phone, everything else, that when you're presented in a situation or with a scenario where you're completely free, society has collapsed. Money means nothing. You don't have bills to pay anymore. You don't have a car payment. You don't have a phone payment. You don't even have a working phone in most of these doomsday scenarios. We're back to living off of the land, back to a bartering system. That's what makes these doomsday scenarios so appealing, but it's also the hero complex. Because in every version of the scenario, you yourself are the hero and you are the protagonist. You are the one who is going to set off as the lone survivor, or you're going to create your own little pack and you're going to be the ones who survive. And in 100 years, maybe it's your story that's being told. And of course, I think also the doomsday prepping aspect goes back to the Cold War, when people were building bomb shelters in their basements. They were convinced that the Russians were going to bomb the United States and we were going to have to take shelter in underground bunkers. So people started stockpiling food and weapons. So doomsday prepping, it goes back 60, 80 years.
Yeah, I think you hit a really high point. I know that I've experienced with just talking with various different people about it. Like everybody seems to have a bug out bag, which can be important in any scenario. You get caught in a wildfire or you get surrounded, you don't adhere to whatever warnings are out there, and a lot of people stay through hurricanes. I understand a lot of natural occurrences too that a bug out bag would be necessary, but for me, it's the feeding on fear that is really disturbing to me, because I don't know. I don't think that, the world is inherently good or evil. I think there's a balance there. But at the same time, to live in a constant fear of martial law or something happening, why wouldn't you just move? If you're spending all these dollars to put a storage container underground because you're afraid that your own government is going to rebel against the people, there are extremes here that I just don't understand. I don't understand why we've gotten to that point in some scenarios. But, in pop culture, it's exactly what you said. It's the hero complex. It's, I have to keep my family safe. It's just this constant need to be needed.
And it also plays into everyone's inherent desire to always be right. Because if a doomsday scenario were to happen, zombie apocalypse, nuclear war, whatever, these people who have been stockpiling weapons and ammo and food and water, and they have their underground shelters and everything, most likely they're going to be fine. And they're going to get to say, I told you so.
Right.
I've been preparing for this for 10 years, 15, 20 years. I knew that this was coming. And now I'm going to outlive all these people who weren't prepared.
It's the Noah and the Ark complex too. Like everybody thought Noah in the Bible was just a lunatic for building this huge vessel just because God told him to. And so the story goes, once him and his family were all on the boat and it started raining, the door was closed. And, you know, I don't think Noah stood on the bow and like peed on them or anything, but at the same time, it was just like, I think that's where another like layer of fear comes from, is because, you know, we have stories in history that have proved people otherwise. Like, you know, you're crazy for building this boat. Oh God, we all drowned, you know,
Right.
like, and if I can dream up any other scenario that would actually happen, I think it would be a water world scenario just because of global warming.
Well, I don't want to panic any listeners with what I'm about to say. So if you are especially sensitive to topics like this, I'd say stop listening now. But with that said, after what I've read, I feel like the most likely doomsday scenario in this day and age is nuclear fallout. And not necessarily the inherent danger of a nuke itself. So I feel like this whole thing started because several years ago, you and I had a conversation with David Two Dogs Hayes, host of This Is Work, and his wife, Kara, about doomsday scenarios. And, you know, yeah, I think he had told us that every place they've ever lived, they've come up with a plan. You know, things go to hell. What do you do? And they were like, wow, we're in this house and we don't have our scenario together. What do we do? And so the four of us started talking about it, which led me to actually doing a little bit of research on the topic and how dangerous nuclear weapons are. So if you're within a few hundred miles of a nuke, you're probably going to die. But any farther than that, if you don't die from the initial blast, the spread of nuclear radiation and the electromagnetic pulse that results from it, you're going to get radiation poisoning and you're going to be completely cut off from the world because it's going to fry electronics completely. Cell phones, most modern cars. So you're going to be completely cut off and you're going to be back to pioneer living.
Which I think a lot of people, to your point, like no matter what it is, you know, it's going to, like the finality of it all, like womankind will find a way to survive. I feel like we're not just going to all move to Mars and blow up the earth. You know what I mean? Like, so for people to already have that mindset of like, okay, I want to live as sustainably as possible, I think is really admirable. But to have I'm living sustainably because I'm afraid is a really toxic way to live your life too. So it's one thing if you want to get solar panels just, you know, to help the earth out and to help your power company out, or, you know, to have your own water system or whatever. Like people live off the grid. It's not because, you know, they think that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. That's just the way they prefer to live their lives. I just think that we have been given a spirit of fear to think about nuclear warfare, to think about global warming. And to some degree, yes, we should be cautious of that and conscious of it. But at the same time, to have that filter through your entire existence and have that be the end goal, like that to me is what doomsday prepping is. I'm waiting for the day. I need a day. I need a timeline because I believe as a person that in 10 years, it's all going to blow up.
Yeah.
So like that's the difference I'm trying to distinguish, so people don't assume like, well, they just hate people that have bottles of water in their car for emergencies. Like that is not the case at all. I just am so fascinated by the demographic of people that are primarily white people who are scared of these big scenarios happening. Like, they don't have everyday issues to worry about that are happening now. They're trying to prepare for a future that they don't even know is true or not.
Right.
And that to me is a little like, I don't know.
Well,
and I mean, we're guilty of it too. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've sat on our couch and it's like, well, if it all goes to hell, we're going to have to kill at least Marlo because she'll never shut up. Marlo is our dog, by the way, and she's very yappy. But like, if we were supposed to be quiet, then we would have to kill and eat Marlo. And, because she's got the most fat on her or whatever it is. We've had these kind of fantastical conversations. Like,
oh, I have a plan.
Do you?
I 100% have a things go to hell, how do we proceed plan. Yeah.
So what is things go to hell, we have a plan mean to you? Like if the house starts flooding, or if
society collapses for any reason.
If the United States, America is a continent, if the United States collapses, you have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a theoretical plan, naturally, because, how the fuck do you practice that? But
you start living sustainably.
Right.
So what is it, please?
Oh, hell no. I'm not telling it on the air.
Oh.
I don't want other people copying my plan.
Oh,
or knowing what it is.
Oh, my God.
Trying to intercept our plan.
You heard it here first, teeny weenies. Talkie teenies. Weenie Hut Juniors.
I will say that among some of the things that I read from articles about Doomsday Preppers, somebody suggested if in the event of an electromagnetic pulse and, credit cards are useless, cell phones are useless, cash is going to be king for a while, even though that will quickly lose any meaning whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So somebody suggested you get $100 or $200 in cash. You put it with your go bag. And if things go to hell, you go to the nearest gas station and you just offer all of your cash to whoever's working for whatever you can carry out. And you just fill a bag with water and protein bars and snacks. Yeah, whatever you want. As much of it as you can carry. And then you take that with you.
Take it where, though? If all of the United States, like all of the borders would be closed, like where would you go if society collapsed?
Me personally, or in general?
Would you go somewhere more rural?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to get you to reveal your plan. I would hope you would share it with me at some point.
I think I have. Some of the advice that I have read is in the immediate aftermath of some kind of cataclysmic event, people are going to panic and they're going to start trying to go somewhere. So, you always see in these movies about apocalypse scenarios, flooded highways of abandoned cars. That's likely what you're going to see. I mean, just imagine 77 at 5 o'clock at night or any major American
when it
interstate.
Rains.
Yeah. Just imagine that with hundreds of thousands of people trying to leave an area at once, what 77 or 85 or 485 would look like. And then there are going to be people who want to take advantage of the situation and start looting businesses and breaking into houses. From what I have read, the best thing to do is to stay put for 3 days after you go and you get your supplies. Go and get your supplies and then go back home, batten down the hatches, stay inside for 3 days. Because within 3 days, either the government will have gotten it under control and things can resume normalcy, or a whole lot of people are going to be dead. I mean, it's an extremely harsh outlook, but after 3 days, you can probably comfortably leave your home again. Or nuclear radiation will have reached you and you'll be fucked in any case. But So yeah, stay inside for 3 days.
We couldn't stay inside for 2 weeks. You want people to stay inside for 3 days? After that?
That's what I'm saying is
Oh, that's the point.
Yeah, nobody is going to try to stay where they're at. Everyone's going to try to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to end up being completely fucked.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you consider yourself a doomsday prepper?
Oh, God, no. Like, if 10 is hardcore doomsday prepper and 1 is average Joe, I'm definitely a 1.
Okay. But we still have a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And listeners out there, if you get curious, Google what a Faraday cage is, because I have seriously considered constructing one.
I think you just moved up to a 2 or a 3. Because I don't know what that is. It essentially, at its most basic, it's a Faraday cage. I'm making sure I have my terminology right here. It could be anything from an entire room or an entire house or to a cardboard box covered completely in tinfoil. This is where the whole tinfoil hats thing comes from. David.
You construct one, you get a cell phone, like a burner phone essentially, that you charge regularly and then put back inside of it, and it will stop the electromagnetic pulse so that you still have a working electronic device.
So you would have to have enough leeway time to know that this was happening, though.
Theoretically, you'd want to be paranoid enough to have this prepared in advance.
So you have been paranoid enough to think about building something like
I've thought about it, yeah. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because, like, what made you want to do that?
It's something that I read about. And again, when I read about, the fallout, both literally and figuratively, of dropping a nuke, it's a terrifying prospect.
Yeah.
And I read all these tips from these people and I went, wow, you're fucking crazy. Or, wow, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
I'm just curious because 9 times out of 10, you've put yourself in a situation that would normally make me scared. And you say, well, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And now it's, nuclear fallout. I got to get in my, what did you call it? The Faraday cage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Faraday cage.
I'm just wondering where the line is here.
The line is
I would rather just cook, I think. Or just, I would just rather have the impact and just be gone, I think.
Well, the line is I haven't built us an underground shelter and we're not stockpiling food and water.
Right.
But, if I were to make one of these out of just a shoebox for each of us, one, to keep in our cars, to keep in the house or whatever, and something horrible happens, like whatever, we can't contact each other, but we have these burner phones with our numbers programmed into them, and we've kept them charged and in these cages, and now we can reach each other. Because and when there's not a pandemic going on, you work in Charlotte. I work down here in Rock Hill. We're at least a 30-minute drive without traffic. Imagine a scenario in which we can't reach each other by cell phone. We can't get in our cars. You can't come back home. I can't get up to Charlotte to you. What do we do?
I got to start paddling down the Catawba, I guess.
Apparently, yeah.
I'm not saying, I don't think you're, I hope you don't think that I think that you're bananas about this. I think, some of these scenarios are very plausible. Like I said, with the natural occurrences, I think it's very plausible that you should have things on hand. There's a reason why there are fire extinguishers in buildings, because things can catch on fire. Right. Will they? Probably not. But at the same time, at least you have the tools to put out the fire. And I just, we grew up in an era of Y2K.
Oh, yeah.
Y2K scared the pants off of me. And I was maybe 5th, 6th grade. And it was weird because nobody traveled for New Year's Eve. Everybody stayed home.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents said, let's go to the beach. If it's all going to go down, then we might as well be somewhere we want to be. So we literally packed up suitcases. I think we were there for the weekend, if that, or a few days. And I packed so many clothes that because I truly felt like I will probably not see my house again.
Oh.
And it really scared me, even to the point to where when we checked into our hotel, we were given a New Year's Eve baggie with not like noisemakers or anything like that, but with a bottle of water and a battery-powered flashlight in case the lights went out, and like a couple of other tchotchke things I can't remember. But it's just that spirit of fear, and like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. But it was rampant. It was rampant throughout the entire nation. Like everybody was stockpiling food, stockpiling water for the just in case scenario.
Right. And like I said, go back even further. Go back to the Cold War.
Yeah.
You know, how many... I just wonder how many American homeowners in the last 60 years have bought a house and go exploring. Like, where does this door go to? Why is there a stairwell here? Mm-hmm. And they find somebody's basement still filled with cans of beans. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's very interesting. You know, to peel away all the layers, I think that you should always have a option in your vehicle, if you have a vehicle, to have access to clean water and a map. You know, as archaic as they may be now, my dad always swears to have a paper map in your car.
Yeah, that's a good call. Just
because, you know, you never know when you're in rural wherever and you can't get a GPS signal. Like, we rely so much on cell phones now and Wi-Fi. But if all of that is stripped away, how are you going to figure out where you need to go?
Yeah.
Which is just interesting to think about. And you should have a way to jump off your car if your car should stop working.
Yeah.
Battery wise, I practice those things. So
I have jumper cables. I don't have bottles of water or a map in my car.
Yeah. I just think it's important for any scenario, whatever may come. But it's just been top of mind, especially for the last 18 months, like how chaotic it's been and how people have relied on their fear to drive them to do certain things. Whether that's good, whether that's bad, it's just, it seems animalistic sometimes to me, to think that way. So
how many of our listeners do you think we've panicked? Who are now
I know Kara, if Kara listens, she's scared to death. She's probably just thinking about the conversation that we had on the back porch, just troubleshooting where we would go, who we would pick up first, what we would do with the dogs, and she was white as a ghost.
Yeah.
And we don't share this topic just to scare you. I would hope not, because inevitably, it's I'm not sure what the words are here, but inevitably there's going to be more and more occurrences in your lifetime that are like the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we have lost way too many people to the pandemic, which is awful. But there's always going to be these mile markers that are going to cause a spirit of fear and escapism. I'll be the first one out. Especially when any adversity comes, we want to run from it instead of try to change it. So all I'm saying is, before you start doomsday prepping, maybe live in the now and see what you can do to fix it.
Yeah, I agree. But if you want to go and get some folding cash and some
folding money
and some aluminum foil, save your shoe boxes, buy some bottled water. God. No one's going to discourage that.
No.
So, well, thank you, Katie, for this alarming topic. And
man, you're sweaty now.
I know. Well, I don't want people finding out my plan.
You didn't tell your plan.
I'll tell you afterwards.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You didn't tell anybody your plan except for the shoe boxes.
Yeah.
So
the shoe boxes know all.
Well, we could just call more people then, if that's the case.
So coming up from Long Walk Podcast next week, there's a new AEW pay-per-view coming out. So there's going to be a new episode of This Is a Work covering that. And then on Long Walk Talks, we're going to be doing our first off-topic episode of the year, since we've just solely been focusing on Kevin Smith so far, before later in March we talk about the movie Chasing Amy. So Katie, if people want to find you online or reach out to you, where's the best place for them to do that?
You can DM me on Instagram at KTB Won't Stop Believing. Please shoot me a message because my account is private, and let me know that you're a listener or teeny weeny.
You can also reach me on Instagram. My account is not private. You can reach me at DB Hensley. If you want to find out more about Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. You can go on to Facebook and like Long Walk Productions and Long Walk Podcast to keep up with us. And if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on.
Stay teeny.